This is sacred unfiltered, where the soul gets hurt. Every story, every scar, every unspoken word. We get to the root, we rise from the dirt. Real truths, no agenda, just lessons that work. It's more than a show, it's a mirror. Reflection getting clearer. If it's real, it belongs right here. No fear, just spirit, just hear her. Sacred unfiltered. Say what you feel, don't hide. It's love, it's truth, it's healing time. Where your voice aligns. This is Sacred Unfiltered.
Welcome back to Sacred and Unfiltered. If you are new here, hi, I'm Genesis. I'm the Rebel PK. I'm also known as your unconventional church girl. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening from your favorite podcast streaming platform. If you are, in fact, watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. If you're listening by way of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream, go ahead and follow the show so that you do not miss an episode. And if you want to stay connected beyond the episodes, join our community on social media. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, whichever platform is your cup of tea, at Sacred Unfiltered. Before we jump in, shout out to our Season 2 sponsor, Ninth Crown, and of course to the Plug Network for powering Sacred and Unfiltered. Thank you guys so much. All right. Today's episode is critical, okay? Because this is where a lot of us, we get stuck. This is where we get corrected, we get shamed, or we get silenced. We're talking about God's truth versus my truth. And the real question underneath it is, can God's truth and my lived experience coexist without canceling each other out? And the answer is yes. So let's talk about it. The phrase, my truth, became a threat in church spaces. The assumption became if someone says my truth, they're rejecting God's truth. But that's not automatically true, right? So let's define our terms correctly and carefully. God's truth is ultimate, right? It's divine reality. It is not opinion. It is not preference. It is not mood. It is not culture. God's truth is anchored in his nature. But my truth, when used properly, is not a rival authority, right? It's a lived experience. It's testimony. It is perception shaped by real events, trauma, growth, context, and encounter. The conflict only happens when we confuse the category. God's truth, again, is ultimate, okay? My truth is based off of experience. One defines reality, and the other describes how I have encountered it, okay? Those are not enemies. It's okay to recognize God's truth and my truth, okay? In Gospel of John, the first chapter, verse 14, we read, "The Word became flesh, and it dwelt among us, full of grace and truth." Now, truth did not descend as a concept. Truth took on a body. Truth entered culture. Truth walked through grief. Truth touched lepers. Truth wept. Truth felt betrayal. All those things matter because it means divine truth is not allergic to lived experience. It's not fragile. It's not threatened by human perspective. God's truth did not stay distant to remain pure. It stepped into humanity. So when someone names their lived experience, trauma, confusion, doubt, pain, it doesn't contaminate the truth. It creates the place where truth can be encountered. Does that make sense? I hope so. Let's talk about Psalms because the Bible is full of truths. David says things like, "Why have you forsaken me? My tears have been my food. My enemies prosper while I suffer." Those statements are emotionally raw. Now, sometimes they are theologically incomplete. Sometimes they are spoken from despair, but they are not rebuked. They are preserved as scripture. Why? Because testimony is biblical. Lamenting is biblical. Naming lived experiences is biblical. David does not suppress his perception in order to protect God's reputation. He tells the truth. Even when it's messy, even in all of that, in telling the truth, it makes room for deeper revelation. Suppressing lived experience does not make you look holy. It disconnects you from honesty. And disconnected faith eventually collapses. So let's be clear. Let's be clear. Because precision matters. My truth becomes dangerous. And I'm going to say my truth in quotes. My truth becomes dangerous when it replaces humility. Okay? When it is immovable, it's unexamined, it's immune to correction, it's detached from scripture. Experience is real, but experience is not ultimate. Okay? God's truth does not bend to us, but it does meet us. And this is where many people are shamed unnecessarily. They're told, stop speaking your truth. When all that they're really doing is naming pain. They're naming confusion. They're naming what happened. Silencing lived experience does not protect doctrine. It protects comfort and truth that cannot withstand testimony. It doesn't free people. Jesus says, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. Truth that controls is not truth that frees. If somebody cannot tell you their story without being shut down and corrected prematurely and called rebellious and all the things, that environment is afraid of something. Because freedom requires honesty. And here's the thing. Yes, God's truth is ultimate. My truth is based off experience. God's truth defines what is real. My truth describes how I have encountered that reality. So when someone says, this is my truth, they are not claiming divinity. They are naming encounter. The problem is not lived experience. The problem is pride on either side. Pride that says, my perspective is ultimate, or pride that says, if your experience doesn't align immediately with my interpretation, you got to be wrong. You out of line. Spiritual maturity holds both. Okay? Deep reverence for God's ultimate authority and deep respect for human experience. The question is not, does God bend to people? The question is, do we trust that God is big enough to meet people where they are? And the answer is he always has. He met David in despair. He met Thomas in doubt. He met Peter in failure. He met Paul in blindness. God's truth did not collapse when they struggled. It met them there. So let's ask some questions. Were you taught that your experience mattered? Or were you taught to silence it quickly so that the doctrine stayed tidy? Were you allowed to process? Or were you corrected before you could finish speaking? Because if my truth is always shut down in formation, then you have to learn to distrust your own perception. And that creates disconnection, not maturity. And we talked about maturity last week. God's truth is not fragile. It does not need to silence people to remain true. And your lived experience is not a threat to God. It's often the doorway through which you encounter him more deeply. The goal is not to elevate experiences above scripture, okay? The goal is to let scripture meet experience and transform it. So if this episode helped you untangle something, sit with it. And if Sacred and Unfiltered continues to be a space where you can grow without being shamed for asking honest questions, make sure that you subscribe. follow the show, share it with someone who needs the conversations. And of course, don't forget to connect with us over in social media world, Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at Sacred Unfiltered. Wherever you like to hang out, there we are. SU Live is back, and I want to see you in the room, okay? So text SU Live, that's the key code, to 704-318-2511. Until next time, stay sacred, stay unfiltered.
This is Sacred Unfiltered, where the soul gets hurt. Every story, every scar, every unspoken word. We get to the root, we rise from the dirt. Real truths, no agenda, just lessons that work. It's more than a show, it's a mirror. Reflection getting clearer. If it's real, it belongs right here. No fear, just spirit, just hear her. Sacred Unfiltered. Say what you feel, don't hide. It's love, it's truth, it's healing time. Where your voice aligns. This is Sacred Unfiltered.